Toodles to today's special Halloween episode of Mental Health is Horrifying. I'm your horror Barbie host of darkness, Candace Green, psychotherapist and all-around spooky bitch, podcasting from my bat-filled cave in Toronto, Canada. On this very special Halloween episode, I'm talking about one of my favorite movies to pop in the DVD player on Halloween. Yes, I have a DVD player. I like to own physical copies of movies I love. Today, I'm talking about Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow because it not only has the best Halloween vibes, but it also has a lot to teach us about disavowed anger and how it shows up somatically in the body. The Headless Horseman literally has no head. He's just a body. Okay, so let's get right into it. Let's check out Sleepy Hollow and explore its portrayal of the importance of working somatically to process emotions.
I am Constable Ichabod Crane, sent from New York to investigate murder in Sleepy Hollow.
How much have your superiors explained to you?
Only that the three were slain in open ground, their heads severed from their bodies.
Taken by the Headless Horseman. Taken back to hell.
He rode a giant black steed. To look at him made your blood run cold. Even today, the Western Woods is a haunted place where brave men will not venture.
We have murders in New York without benefit of ghouls and goblins.
You're a long way from New York, Constable.
Is everyone in this village enthralled to superstition?
We have many things to talk about, even in this backward place.
Excuse my manner. I'm not used.
Female company?
Murder! The Horseman's killed again!
The assassin is a man of flesh and blood, and I will discover him.
Are you so certain of everything?
Perhaps there's a bit of a witch in you, Katrina.
Why do you say that?
Because you've bewitched me.
In 1799, New York City Police Constable Ichabod Crane is dispatched to the upstate hamlet of Sleepy Hollow, which has been plagued by a series of brutal decapitations. Ichabod learns that locals believe the killer is the undead apparition of a headless Hessian mercenary from the American Revolutionary War, who rides a black steed in search of his missing head. Ichabod begins his investigation, skeptical of the paranormal story. In the process, he also falls for the spectacularly witchy daughter of wealthy businessman Baltus Van Tassel named Katrina. She is iconic. The Headless Horseman continues his reign of terror, murdering the residents of Sleepy Hollow with seemingly alarming specificity. After meeting with the spooky old forest crone, Ichabod learns the location of the horseman's grave at the Tree of the Dead. He digs up the horseman's grave and discovers the skull has been taken, deducing that it has been stolen by someone who now controls him, and that the tree is his portal into the living world. After faking her own death, Lady Mary Van Tassel, Katrina's stepmother, reveals herself to Katrina and explains her true heritage from an impoverished family evicted years ago by Van Garrett when he favored Baltus Van Tassel and his family instead. She swore revenge against all who wronged her, pledging herself to Satan if he would raise the horsemen to avenge her. She also reveals that she poisoned Katrina's mother so that she could act as her nurse and then manipulate her way into becoming the new Lady Van Tassel, now positioned to claim ownership of all land owned by the Van Gerets and Van Tassels. The only person left standing in her way is Katrina. But not on Ichabod Crane's watch. Ichabod retrieves the horseman's skull from Lady Van Tassel and returns it to him, breaking the curse and setting the horseman free from Lady Van Tassel's control. With his head restored, the horseman spares Katrina and abducts Lady Van Tassel, returning to hell with her in tow. When Ichabod first arrives in Sleepy Hollow, he walks into a Halloween party, and this party is lit. There's like 600 jack-o'-lanterns, candles, fireplaces, and cute games. The game that they're playing is actually very representative of how upper echelons of American society approached Halloween at the time. Over time, Halloween became divorced from its pagan roots, and the event became a holiday for young adults who were courting. In upper-class homes at this time period, the night was often celebrated with refined parties and parlor games for courting, which is exactly what we see in the game that is being played, where Katrina is blindfolded and recites the rhyme, "The Pickety Witch, the Pickety Witch, who's got a kiss for the Pickety Witch?" How saucy. It's not only this scene that is visually stunning, it's the entire movie. Don't even get me started on all the beautiful clothes, including Katrina's iconic black and white striped dress that she wears to New York at the end of the movie. And all the yabos. There are so many yabos in this movie. Those ladies got the girls pushed right up. Sleepy Hollow actually won the Academy Award for Best Art Direction, which is not surprising at all. Production designer Rick Heinrichs tried to inspire a sense of apprehension in the architecture, suggesting that there is something very wrong here, and there's a sense of foreboding and fear. The Western Woods were actually built on one of the largest sound stages in the world. I love all the cool tones in the movie, which is such a signature of Tim Burton. Actually, when I go to the hair salon for my highlights, I ask my colorist to make sure my hair looks just like Sleepy Hollow. No warm tones. The story of Sleepy Hollow is a tale that has been around for almost 2 centuries. The Gothic story was written by Washington Irving, entitled The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, and was originally published in 1820. This movie, directed by Tim Burton, of course, stars Johnny Depp, our mother, Christina Ricci, and Christopher Walken as the Headless Horseman. There is a common understanding that trauma is stored in the body, and that's only partially true. I think we have the book, The Body Keeps the Score, to thank for this. Okay, you won't literally find emotions in your body that you can pluck out and work through, but our bodies do reflect the reality of our lived experience. Acknowledging and working with the somatic manifestations of our trauma is a helpful way to connect with the truth behind the stories our bodies are communicating. This is the goal of somatic therapy, where practitioners will integrate body awareness into sessions, moving someone from a disavowed or frozen emotional self state into one in tune with the emotional realities their body is communicating. Now, I am certainly not advocating for mounting a horse and charging around, decapitating your enemies, and putting their heads in a tree. I do, however, view the Headless Horseman as a metaphor for the importance of tending to the body when it comes to processing our emotions. The Headless Horseman is mad. He is filled with vengeful rage. He doesn't even have a head or facial features or a larynx to communicate to us that he is angry, but his body tells us that story loud and clear. And that rage may or may not even belong to him, which we'll get into later. But the fact that he literally does not have a head tells us that he is acting in a very embodied way. Emotions are by nature not rational, which means that you can't really think or rationalize your way through them. Yep, in order to process emotions, it turns out that you actually have to feel them. This is why your therapist will ask you annoying questions like, how does that make you feel? And where do you feel that in your body? It's not because they want to make you roll your eyes. It's because logically talking through emotions and experiences is only the first step in treating trauma or completing an emotional stress cycle. I think so many of us feel like disembodied heads, especially in this current digital era. Or remember when all we did was Zoom and we were actually disembodied heads? Many of us are so disconnected from our bodies and spend most of our time in our heads overthinking, rationalizing, and taking in a surplus of information, or better yet, content. The global average for screen time today is somewhere between 6 to 7 hours a day. These numbers are much higher for Gen Zs and teenagers. In today's age of Instagram and TikTok therapy, we are positively drowning in information. Many can intellectually speak about their feelings or experiences, or even connect them to a related attachment theory, or maybe they've read about shadow work online. There is so much information out there, and it's often presented in terms of, here's the reason you procrastinate, or the real reason why you can't say no is because you're a people pleaser and you fear abandonment because your mom left you at a Baskin-Robbins when you were a kid. It's like we're all a bunch of disembodied heads that the Headless Horseman has collected and stored in his murder tree. So let's look at how we can connect more with our bodies to process our feelings and experiences. In working through emotions, there are 3 active stages, and most people get stuck around the first stage. After someone has grounded into safety and feels stabilized enough to begin working through emotions, the first stage is identifying the issue. This is where language and knowledge can be helpful in identifying what the issue is, sort of like the expression, name it to tame it. And this is where many of us remain stuck. Staying in the knowledge stage risks merely intellectualizing our problems, using so-called therapy speak to keep us at a distance from our feelings or even ruminating. We have to get closer to the experience, closer to the feelings, and to do that, we have to move into somatic processing. The next stage is feeling. For me, therapy is mostly about this stage, feeling. I spend a lot of time here with my clients and look at therapy sessions as time that we set aside to feel. This means slowing down, noticing the body and all that it is communicating, and not just ripping through things with fancy therapy language. I'm sure you've heard the expression, you need to feel your feelings. But what does that mean exactly? It means to literally feel your feelings in your body. Feel them using your senses the same way you would describe what your body feels like to be covered by a soft blanket on the couch versus lying down on a bed of rusty nails. This can be a very challenging phase if you tend to intellectualize things, if accessing your feelings is unsafe, scary, or you are not resourced or stabilized enough to be able to do this type of work yet. When learning how to feel your feelings, go very slowly and take time to notice what is happening to your body as emotions arise in it. Taking a cue from the Headless Horseman, let's think about feeling anger. If you connect with that emotion and stay present with it, what is happening to your body? Are your fists clenched? Is your jaw tight? Do you feel like there's something in your throat and you just want to scream? Paying attention to the somatic sensations associated with your anger can help you to tune further into the emotion and also serves as an opportunity to take an action that your body is gently nudging you towards. If your fists are clenched, for example, it might feel good to punch a pillow. If your jaw is tight and it feels like there's something caught in your throat, maybe you really should scream. Scream your heart out, or turn on Florence and the Machine and she can scream with you. Notice what other emotions arise when you allow yourself to get mad. You might notice, for example, that when you get mad, guilt is not too far behind. Okay, now what does that feel like? Tap into the body again and explore that guilt. Where does it come from? What narratives are attached to it? As you peel back the complex emotional layers and how they present within your body, you will begin moving the emotions through your body, engaging and working through the stress cycle. There are so many ways to engage somatically with your feelings. Of course, doing structured somatic therapy work like somatic experiencing or dance movement therapy are great options. And so are things like exercise, breath work, swimming, stretching, or running through the forest at midnight screaming. Just use your body to feel things in whatever way feels good to you. One of my favorite ways to work somatically is through dream work. By doing embodied dream work, where the dreamer physically embodies various elements and people within the dream and imagines that they are physically back in the dream setting, they can take a sensory journey through their emotional landscape as represented by dream imagery. The elements in our dreams are usually not literal, but representative of our deepest emotions and experiences. By embodying dream elements, we can physically immerse ourselves in our emotions and get an embodied sense of our own raw experience, free from the confines of our ego. When people talk about it feeling like they have pent-up emotions in their body or that they have emotions that are stuck in their body, they're referring to the stress cycle not being engaged or completed. This is a process of somatic regulation. It is the body's physiological process for responding to and recovering from a perceived threat or stressor, beginning with the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response, and ending when the body signals safety and returns to a neutral state. At this point, we can move on to the next stage, which is where we make choices. With the information gathered, our emotions processed, and some sense made of things, we can now make choices from a more grounded place. Do you want to make a different choice about that situation, relationship, or problem? Has a new narrative emerged that is different than the one that you had at the beginning? Are there some boundaries you want to set up? And what acts of self-care do you need right now? This process is not necessarily linear, and it's not a one-and-done situation. Processing emotions and rewriting narratives is a complicated, sticky process, but it's one worth engaging in, and it highlights the importance of somatic processing for how it allows us to access deeper truths and knowledge that only our bodies, not our disembodied heads, can hold. In Sleepy Hollow, whose vengeful, murderous feelings are these anyway? Upon closer look, the Headless Horseman's rage does not even belong to him. It belongs to Lady Mary Van Tassel. Mary was born as Mary Archer, one of the two daughters of a happily married couple living in a cottage near Sleepy Hollow. When Mary was still a little girl, her father unexpectedly died for some unknown reason, and the family's landlord, Sir Peter Van Garrett, evicted them and sold their home to the Van Tassel family. Due to Mary's mother being suspected of doing witchcraft, no one in the town was willing to take in the Archers, so they took refuge in the western woods. Mary's mother died later in the year, forcing Mary and her sister to scrounge for themselves in the western woods. One day, while gathering firewood, Mary and her sister ran into the horseman hiding from a group of American soldiers. Despite the horseman's gesture to be quiet, Mary gave him away to his pursuers by snapping a stick in two while her sister ran away in fear. While watching the horseman's execution and burial by the hands of the soldiers, Mary made a pact with the devil. In return for her soul, she would be allowed to raise the horseman from the grave to assist her in taking revenge on the Van Garretts and Van Tassels. Lady Van Tassel is, understandably angry that her family was evicted after the death of her father. No one would help her and her family, and they were left to starve. That's horrible. I would be very mad too. Her family would have been grieving the death of their father, and the Van Tassel landlords were like, sorry bitch, if you can't pay the rent, out you go. That's capitalism. In Sleepy Hollow, Mary has possession of the horseman's head so that she can literally control his actions and use his body as a channel for her rage. Were women allowed to be angry in 1799? I'm gonna go with no. The Headless Horseman embodies Mary's rage so completely, referencing narratives of self that are inherited, masquerading as our own. This is common in abusive, codependent, or enmeshed relationship dynamics and can create a lack of separation between your own emotions and that of someone else. We actually do get to see how the Headless Horseman feels about this arrangement at the end of the movie, and he has his own righteous anger about it. How dare she? He is done with killing randos in Sleepy Hollow, and he takes Mary back to hell with him, where they can serve Satan. I find a lot of value in taking a somatic approach to working with tarot cards with therapy clients. It may feel a little bit silly, but pulling cards either blindly or intentionally to represent how we are feeling, and then adopting the posture of a person in the card can be a really great way to access our own emotions. This practice may feel silly at first, like when you're becoming the lobster in the moon card and you're making lobster claws with your hands to try and access your feelings associated to your recent breakup. But who cares? Nobody cares if you're a lobster. I certainly don't. A tarot card I have chosen that I associate with Sleepy Hollow is the Ten of Swords. I've pulled this card specifically for Lady Mary Van Tassel. Let's channel her, shall we? If I embody the posture of the person in the card by putting my hands over my face and leaning forward, I notice that I'm feeling a sense of grief and heaviness. There's swords over my head, which feels like it's indicating a lot of cognitive processing and the mind being very active. And perhaps those thoughts are ones of aggression or anger. But in connecting with my body underneath that feeling of anger, there's sadness, which is something commonly found underneath anger, as though it has no place to go. I notice I want to take an oppositional posture. I want to rub my hands through my hair, push it back, and open up my chest to the sky. It's hard feeling like I'm being crushed by all these heavy swords. When I do that, I notice that I want to share what now feels like is present in my chest, a heavy feeling. I want to talk, I want to scream, I want to cry. What would happen if Mary cried? Would she be less murderous? I chose this card for Lady Mary Van Tassel, thinking about her as a little girl who just lost her father and was suddenly cast out of her home. I don't know what happened between her and her sister, But her sister went to live in a spooky-ass witch's hovel in the western woods, which is kind of amazing. In 1799, how would a poor woman have gone about expressing her anger? I mean, today I would tell someone like Mary and her sister, yeah, make some potions in your cauldron, raise hell, cackle at the full moon. But I can also tell you exactly how that would have gone in 1799. Those two would have been accused of witchcraft immediately and promptly murdered by the state. It kind of makes sense, in a Tim Burton sort of way, that Mary Van Tassel chose a man to carry her anger for her. A very bloodthirsty, Hessian, mercenary man. What a perfect conduit for her violence. I wonder what the legend of Sleepy Hollow would be like if the horseman were not, in fact, headless. Would he be less scary? Less angry? It's interesting to think about how his lack of head impacts the reign of terror he brings upon Sleepy Hollow. He is pure emotion, and his anger is made possible because his head is removed from him. I think we are scared of our emotions in their raw form. They can feel overwhelming, unruly, and at worst, illogical. We learn to dismiss them, suppress them, and to fear them. But if we can learn to embrace them in a healthy way and see our bodies as teachers in this work, emotions become our best guide towards the truth. Halloween is a really great time to connect with our emotions, especially if we are nervous to share them. Just like Lady Mary Van Tassel, we can channel our emotions into someone else, and they can help us to express them. You can dress up as whoever you like and give yourself over to that archetype for a night. Is it any wonder in our increasingly conservative and weirdly puritanical society that so many of us decide to dress up as sexy Chewbacca or sexy Mrs. Potato Head? We are positively ravenous to feel the sexiness that we otherwise feel deprived of. Who knows? Maybe this year I'll see a sexy headless horseman out there. Ooh! That, my ghouls, is the story of Sleepy Hollow and its portrayal of the importance of working somatically to process emotions. I hope Sleepy Hollow is a part of your Halloween tradition, because I truly don't think there's anything better than spending a lovely night in watching Christopher Walken decapitate a bunch of villagers while sipping on spiced, warm apple cider. So cozy. Mental Health is Horrifying is entirely researched, written, edited, and produced by me, Candace Green, registered and spooky psychotherapist. If you live in Ontario or Toronto and are interested in psychotherapy with me, I offer both virtual and in-person therapy for final girls who want to make sense out of the guts of their lives. I specialize in grief and trauma and incorporate both tarot and dream work into my practice as tools to delve deeper into fields of psychic terrain. I offer group programs through the Final Girls Club, including this month's feature, Your Halloween Blessings Kit, where you can connect with Halloween's true meaning, legends, and traditions as a pathway back to yourself. Use code IT'sOctober for 15% off any program in the Final Girls Club. You can follow me on Instagram at Mental Health is Horrifying, and you can also learn more about me and my services through my website, manymoonstherapy.com. Or you can also howl at the moon and I will hear your call. Happy Halloween!